Alrighty. Well, welcome. I'm Brandon. I'm with Just Juice Daily, and here today we're at Corrective Spinal Care, which is where I currently work too, and that's Dr. Scott, who's also part of Just Juice Daily. This is his chiropractic practice. And I'm here with Trish, who's been a patient. I don't know how long you've been a patient here.
3 years.
3 years?
3.5, I think. Yeah.
Cool. And then basically what we're doing here is just kind of talking about your story in a way. We've because I do the therapy here, I get to, I guess, talk with you for at least a half hour while you're in here. And so we've got to at least talk about nutrition and all the different types of natural healing processes. And the biggest thing I think you've really jumped on was like the juicing and sticking to juicing for a while and to get results, because a lot of people might try juicing for a little bit and then not. They tend to like shy away from it. Maybe, oh, it's not working, or whatever. But I guess we're here just to learn, I guess, your story and I guess teach people what you've learned and what you've experienced with juicing. So I guess go ahead and tell your story.
Thanks. Yeah. So I've been a patient here for 3.5-ish years, and I was in 2 really serious car accidents, and that has really, hindered my health journey. I've always struggled with disease most of my life. I've tried every therapy there is on the planet, you name it, I've tried it. I think the first time I drank parsley tea, I was 13, and I'm going on 60 now, so it's been a long journey, and nothing has helped. I've gotten caught up in the medical system, and that has brought more health problems and medical problems over the years. And so as Dr. Scott has been helping me with my pain and my neck injury, we've talked about wellness, and I think part of it is just his really impressing upon me the need for holistic wellness, that the whole body has to be whole. It's body, mind, and spirit that has to all come together to make a person well. And as a woman of faith, that's very important to me. And so I, 2 years ago, I started, I tore my rotator cuff. And the immediate response from my medical doctor was, you need to get surgery immediately. And I just wasn't going to do that. And so I started rehabbing and doing some things on my own. About 8 months later, I tore my Achilles tendon. And again, the first response was, you need surgery immediately. And it's a radical surgical procedure. And I, again, said I want to try to heal this holistically. As a woman of faith, I believe our bodies are created to heal themselves and provide everything we need to be well. So, so I rejected both those surgeries, and Dr. Scott was saying to me, you need to be juicing. Your connective tissue is just, is tearing, and your body's trying to tell you that you're not well. And so that was really the start of that conversation. And again, I don't know time, but about 2.5 years ago, something. And so he said, you need to be juicing. And then you and I, Brandon, started talking about juicing. And so it was January or December of last year, and I was rehabbing this shoulder and Achilles tendon, and he said, you need to help your body heal. And I said, okay, what do we need to do? And so I said, do you have a juicer in stock? And he said, well, I have one in stock. And I said, all right, I'll take it. So this was last December. And
2020, right? Or
2020, yes. Okay. 2020, December of 2020. And I brought the juicer home. I think it was early December, Christmas present to myself. And I set it on the counter and I stared at it for about a week. And I thought, man, I've tried everything. I've done everything. And is this going to be one more thing? And so January 1st, I took it out of the box and I set it up and I stared at it for about another 3 days or so. And then I said, all right, I'm going to do this. And so I started juicing the 1st of January, or the 3rd, I guess it was. And I juiced with the protocol that you guys gave me for 7.5 weeks, straight to the protocol.
Just juice, right? Or did you have
Just juice.
Okay.
So all the haters and doubters that were coming against me and bringing me protein powder and telling me I was crazy and trying to take me out to lunch, I said, just let me be. So I had decided on this 40-day kind of juice fast, and that's how I was going to kind of reconcile that. So I started juicing, and I was drinking the protocol that you told me, which was a quart of watermelon juice, a quart of pineapple juice, and a quart of celery juice. And so that's what I started with. And the first 3 days, I thought I was going to die. I think I called Brandon and said, are you sure about this?
Is this okay? Am I supposed to be feeling this way? Yeah.
So I was foggier than usual. I was very tired. I felt kind of fluey, just headachy, just a lot of weird symptoms. And Brandon kept saying, just push through it. It's going to be okay. Just do it. And I'm like, don't I need some protein? What are we doing here? And so I pushed through it. So I went off sugar, alcohol, coffee, meat, dairy, and grains. So starting on January 3rd, I stopped all of that, cold turkey, and just was doing these 3 quarts of juice and a whole bunch of water. And the first 3 days were really difficult, but about day 4, I started, my cravings were gone, my sugar cravings were gone, I wasn't hungry, and I started to have little breakthrough moments of mental clarity, like the fog lifted briefly. And that was super inspiring because I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't felt like this for 30 years. And so that really inspired me to keep going. So I stayed faithful to that for 40 days. There were times where I felt weak and I would add in like some almonds, or there were a few days where I just really felt like I needed to eat something, so I would just eat raw vegetables, as we talked about, berries, but for the most part it was straight juicing for 40 days. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, just being able to withstand that uncomfortableness, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest thing. Everybody, even myself, got to that point where it's like, God, it's almost uncomfortable for like those first few days.
Yeah.
Like you said, the headaches. Why would I get a headache after 3 days of supposedly eating something or drinking something that should be very beneficial to me?
Right.
And that's the whole point, is the body is in this toxic state, and once you start that fast, you're telling the body it's time to clean out.
Right.
You're taking very, very, very little energy to digest the juice.
Yeah.
And so now everything is being put, all the energy you have, into healing. And so, of course, you're going to start feeling all these random toxins and stuff start to flow. But it's usually around let's say after day 4, day 5 is when stuff really starts to kind of like roll, where, okay, like you said, I don't have cravings anymore. I'm not hungry. You get that hunger feeling, and it's either whatever those cravings are coming from, whether it's the lack of something, like let's just say a bad sugar that could be found in either like the grains, a complex carb, or something like that, even like just like a fruity and processed drink, or or whatever it is, soda, whatever. You tend to break those habits, and after like 3-4 days, you're finally at that point, and I applaud you for going and persevering past those uncomfortable days, because once you get past it, then you see the light at the end of the tunnel. And like you said, with the person of faith, like, you just had to believe in that your body is doing the correct thing here. Right. I guess one question I wanted to ask you was, what exactly, you mentioned this disease or disease. What did the medical field, what did they, I guess, what did they decide? What's the word?
In the past, you're saying? Like
Yeah, what did they diagnose you as?
Yeah, so I've struggled with my health since I was a young girl. I've had a lot of crisis and trauma in my life, and I think that a lot of that is, the body keeps the score, right? It just was a lot of internal trauma. So the medical community, I was very, very ill. Starting really in junior high is when I really started to get sick.
Okay.
And I couldn't, do PE in school. I have a condition they call it vitiligo, where the melanin in my skin is eaten away and just diminishes over time. So I had symptoms of thyroid disease, and, they come up with chronic fatigue syndrome and lupus, and I've been tested for all these things. They put that all in a bucket called autoimmune disease, and so I've been to the doctors, I've been through the programs, I've been in medical studies at Mayo Clinic, and the answer was always the same, which is we need to use these medications or these procedures to cut things out or add things to, and it hasn't helped me over the years, and the longer I've gone in the medical system, the more I've realized that the more doctors you see and the more meds you're on, the sicker you are. And it's a vicious cycle. And so this last round of neurological pain that I was having, they've labeled that as transverse myelitis, which is kind of a twin disease to multiple sclerosis, and it's very severe. There's no cure, and it's very painful and debilitating. So as I was starting to have more symptoms of neurological pain and breakthrough pain, inability to walk, I was immobilized at times, and so Dr. Scott again was saying, you need to let your body heal itself, like your body can heal this, and I just decided that was right, and that's what I was going to do. So the medical field has no answers for someone like me that has these vague, kind of undiagnosable symptoms. And so with the juicing, when I started that and I started to see changes and results, I didn't have any breakthrough pain for almost 2 months.
Wow.
In my spine. It starts with kind of a tingling sensation, and then it breaks through to stabbing pain, and then I'll lose use of my legs or my arms. And so didn't have any of that, and so for me that was super encouraging. And again, I'm 60 years old, and I don't know what my lifespan is going to be on this earth, but I don't want to spend it debilitated by pain and sickness and illness. So I just made a decision that it's up to me to take care of my health, and it's the choices that I'm going to make that are going to make the difference.
Yeah, once we realized, you mentioned that there's no cure.
Right.
I don't want to go out and, I guess, make fun, or they don't have a cure. You can't cure something with a drug. Right. Some drug made up in some lab, some pill. And you really just have to understand what exactly my body is missing. My body is not getting proper nutrition, is not hydrated, and then there's different processes in the body that aren't working properly because of too much processed foods, way too much cooked meat, or just terrible meat in general with hormones and all this other crap they pump in there. Yeah. Grains, alcohol, whatever it is, there's a lot of pressures, and even just the stress of what society brings too. Yeah. A lot of that just hinders everything. And so when they say they don't have a cure, it's of course, look at how many years, and this could even possibly go back to your mother, generation beforehand. It's of course a pill's not going to work. Yeah. And then you just want to cut something out or do some sort of surgery. It's they're not actually going to the source, they're not looking at it correctly.
Right.
And so the biggest thing when it comes to the juicing was it's living food. There's a lot of energy involved in that. And on this earth we're meant to transform energy, and that's what we're here to do, is learn how to transform all these different types of energies. And so if you're eating fruit or just juicing the fruit too, those are like the highest energetic foods that we could eat. And so if you're sequestering that energy, well, then you're going to give your body the potential to heal itself. If you're eating McDonald's and all these other fast food chain foods and just foods you don't even know where that stuff is coming from, let alone what's in it. You know, it could literally take energy away from you to digest it, and now you're even in a worse position. You know, there's no such thing as disease. You know, the medical community made all this disease names up just to, like, I guess, easily put like a pill or a drug to that specific name. You know, when you look at all these different diseases, it's just symptoms which are very similar to multiple other diseases. A lot of it's based on location too, you know, like, so like bronchitis, for example, like it's inflammation of the bronchial tube. So like they would label that a disease based upon either your lymphatic stagnation in that area or the degradation of that particular area. But in general, there's no such thing as a disease, and when you label yourself, now you're kind of like making yourself a victim, you know, and you don't want to put yourself in that position. You just understand, okay, this is where I'm at right now. I know I can heal myself. You just have to find that truth. And I think, well, I can tell you this I can tell you this is the way to go, but everybody has to experience this for themselves in order to feel the power and the healing power from all of this.
You bring up a good point about the inflammation, and so, you know, that's been a huge part of my health journey. And so every doctor I go to, they say, oh, well, you have inflammation, take this steroid. You have inflammation, take this drug. You have inflammation, do this, you know, therapy, whatever.
Or your problem is caused from inflammation, you know,
So the inflammation piece was huge for me, because after I started juicing, I was about 3 weeks in, and I just started to feel more alive. You mentioned that this food is living and alive. And so back in the 70s, I followed a doctor called Dr. Stephen Colbert was his name, and he had a book called What Would Jesus Eat? And he took us back to the Garden of Eden and talked about what was in the garden, what was grown in the garden, what wasn't in the garden. And so I followed this whole protocol way all those decades ago. And when you and I started talking about living food again, that was brought to my remembrance, because it made sense to me that if you know, we're a created being and our body is created a certain way, that it has the potential to heal itself. So I went back and started looking at what were some of those living foods, and a lot of what you were telling me was paralleled in my other research. And so just the thought of eating food that was alive was really inspirational to me. And I had done, before you and I started talking, I had done 6 months with a holistic practitioner up in my area, and she had been working on some digestive health issues with me. And so I was already starting to feel what like normal digestion felt like, and you know, how that was going. But when I started juicing about a week in, I really started to feel lighter. I felt less inflamed. I could tell that my body was doing something. And day by day as I went on, I just thought, wow, this is different. This feels different. I kept asking you about supplements, like, shouldn't I be taking supplements? And I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on supplements in my lifetime, and you know, most of them are ended up in the trash, or you know, I finished the protocol and whatever, they weren't helpful. And you kept saying, no supplements, just do the juice, it has everything you need.
Yeah, I mean, like supplements, for example, when we would talk about supplements, I always make sure that people understand supplements are not herbs and botanicals. They're something that we should be including. The herbs are here for us to better different parts of the body, and then there's herbs for every single organ and gland and whatever. There's bountiful amounts of just natural medicine, but we can we can ingest that stuff whenever. So I don't want to like per se say that that's a supplement, because that's part of the regime, and I would say that I always told you too that there's certain things to work on when it comes to juicing, and that was working on the skin, and then working on the adrenal glands and the kidneys, because the adrenal glands control the kidneys, and the kidneys are what filter your lymphatic system, which is where all these toxins go, or the metabolic waste even too, and you need to get rid of that. If you're not able to get rid of that, then you still have the problem. It's like you're trying to clean the fish's water in the fish tank, and the filter is not working, the power supply is not even on. So you're just trying to keep adding stuff and balancing the water, but you're just stirring it up, and then the fish keep pooping, or the cells. So it's just like it's not working. You have to actually get the filter going. And so that's why I always kind of pushed certain herbs to try and help you. And then you mentioned parsley earlier. Parsley is another one of those herbs that was really good just for the adrenal glands and kidneys, the urinary tract and the bladder. Like that's where all that metabolic waste is going to be going. And so just to get that, empower that and get it to working again was big. But when we talked about the supplements, that's all. A lot of that stuff is isolated. So you might have just random vitamins sitting there. It's like, where the heck do you see just like vitamin C just chilling out in nature by itself? You know, it's always proportional with other different nutrients or vitamins, and it's to a T. Like, I mean, the creator made it the way it is, and that's how it's supposed to be. Now you isolate one thing out, it's not going to work the way that it should without everything else. Everything balances together. You have all these different pHs of everything, and everything is just so like now you start isolating something out, your body sure can still work with it, but it's not like if I were to give you like a multivitamin, that wouldn't be the same as eating a whole watermelon.
Right.
How much is in a water? Like one watermelon right now costs us like $5 here. Now, a little container of 50 to 100 capsules or 120 capsules is like $50.
Right.
What the heck are you getting in a little pill like that? Like, come on. It's, it's just waking up to this, and it's like, this is not how we're supposed to be living. This is not how. Quit feeding the market. It's just people are just trying to. It's a business. They don't really. Do they really 100% care? They want money, and so they're just feeding you all these different slogans and stuff on their, just the marketing schemes. So
it's a good point, and I think for me, this was a huge lifestyle choice. I wanted to bring up my weight, so as the sicker I got, the heavier I got, and it is not for lack of trying. And I've tried every diet, limiting program, exercise, whatever. I've tried everything to lose weight, and I could not. My body was just packing on more and more fat and more weight, and it seemed like it was out of my control. And I had kind of resigned myself. Okay, I'm just going to be a fat old woman. I had kind of resigned myself to that, and I was really sad about that, because I have put so much effort into losing weight and getting healthy, and so it was about a week in, and I wasn't thinking weight loss when I started juicing with you. That wasn't even on my radar. I was thinking nerve pain and debilitating, old age is really what I was thinking. And so about a week into, maybe it was 10 days, and I was feeling good and I was feeling lighter, and I thought, I'm just going to jump on the scale and just see what's happening here. And I jumped on the scale, and I started to cry, because I had not moved the needle on that scale in probably 10 years. And I just kept seeing that needle go up and up and up with my weight. And I got on the scale, and I was 7 pounds lighter. And I thought, this can't even be a thing. It's got to be water weight, or it's got to be something fake. And I just said, okay, I think I called you, Brandon, and I'm like, okay, what is this? And you just kept saying, don't, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't change anything. Don't panic. And so over 40 days, I lost 25 pounds. And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, and I've done that before in my life with radical diets and, protein-based, whatever, Atkins back in the
Right.
day, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I've done radical weight loss, and I started to get scared because I thought, you know what? This isn't sustainable. This is going to come back. I'm going to get fatter after I'm done. And I was kind of like panicking over this weight loss. And after the 40 days were up, I started to eat again. And I started to infuse food into my diet, not always the best. And I have not gained any of it back. And it's been, probably 2 months since I've been eating food again.
Mm-hmm.
And that is super encouraging to me because I realized that this was my body's response to what I was doing. It wasn't me trying to force my body to do something that it wasn't meant to do.
Yeah.
And so, cool, 25 pounds down. And I'm excited I'm in the middle of an interstate move, and I'm starting a new life down in on the East Coast. And I packed my juicer away the other day as I was packing all my stuff up, and I just said, all right, my friend, we are going to go on this journey, and when I get to the other side, I'm going to unpack you, and I'm going to do another 40-day fast and get back on that right away. And I'm excited about that. If you had told me a year ago that I would be craving celery, I would have laughed at you. But, I am in a place right now where I'm really realizing that the food that I've added back in I don't feel well again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking forward to getting back on that juicing.
Well, you mentioned just like one little tidbit of like either like the diet or the food that you've taken out, either it was dairy, meat, grain, even like alcohol.
Coffee.
You've mentioned to me though that you've dabbled and had one thing, one thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, like almost instantaneously, you felt these symptoms come back again.
Right.
Just your body is telling you it doesn't want it.
Right.
And it's.
So my birthday was on St. Patrick's Day. Difficult day to have a birthday. And so I went out with some friends, and I drank alcohol for the first time. So I had started on January 3rd, and it was the first alcohol I had consumed since I started juicing. And it wasn't a lot. I had maybe a cocktail or two over the course of the evening. And the next day, my joints were stiff. My pain was starting to break through again. And I thought, okay, it was just so noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other times that I've noticed, so I added, there's a lot of pressure from people when you start doing something that's considered radical in culture. I think there's a lot of pressure from the people that love you to, caution you and send you articles and refer you to this website, whatever. And so I was getting a lot of pressure to be consuming more protein.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had added in a little bit of almonds, an avocado here and there, and that was fine. But I started adding back in chicken. And I remember the first day that I ate chicken, and it was organic, grain-fed, pasture-raised.
Right.
It was the cleanest chicken you could get. And I ate that, and within 2 hours, the pain in my nerve endings was starting to break through. It was as instantaneous as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so stark, my body's reaction to that first bite of meat, that it stopped me in my tracks, and it made me realize that this is, they tell you, eat chicken, eat a chicken salad, eat this too,
It's everywhere.
whatever.
It's in every type of meal. Yeah.
So for me, the realization in that moment that a plant-based raw food diet is what my body was asking for, that was huge for me, and I wouldn't have believed it if you had told me that 6 months prior.
Mm-hmm.
The juicing is a little hard to sustain culturally. If you're going out socially, or trying to eat in a restaurant is difficult. Parties are hard, but when I was juicing for those 40 days was I was just committed to it. I would bring my juice with me. I just refused any food. But once I started to kind of cross into a little bit of social eating and those kinds of things, it was a little scary how easily I slipped back into the bad eating. So the video, or sorry.
It's not a video camera, so we only have a certain amount of time that we can record until we gotta turn it back on again. So go ahead.
Yeah, so the juicing lifestyle, some things that I became aware of that I really didn't realize before I started. One was the expense, and a lot of people said, "Oh, juicing is so expensive, and you have to buy all this, special fruits and all this," and I wasn't sure, how that was going to go. But when I was juicing for those 40 days, my grocery budget was under $30 a week for all my juicing. And so here I'm having this huge financial benefit to this lifestyle choice. And the other thing was the time. So by removing the food, shopping, the prep, the cooking, the eating, the cleaning up, the storing, all of that food management in my life, everyone said, "Oh, juicing is so hard and it's complicated and it's going to take so much time." I found the exact opposite to be true. I found that I could meal prep all of my juice for I did 3 days at a time. It took me about an hour. So I'm spending an hour every 3 days giving nutrients to my body. And that alone, it freed up time, it freed up brain space, the financial aspect. So I was super excited about that. I do live alone, so I don't have the pressure of preparing for a family or, making 2 meals or whatever.
Right.
So for me, it was very realistic to do the juicing, and I don't know, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, you were doing the juicing and just the juice for a particular reason. Like, you wanted to, in a way, detoxify, and that's going on a liquid diet is like the best way, besides doing nothing, and just sitting there and doing nothing but that. So like with the juicing, like, you just did the liquid juice, but we're not telling everybody that your diet is now for the rest of your life going to consist of just juice. You had a purpose that you were, that you were aiming for, and so the quickest way to do that would be to do some sort of fast, and then also including the different things that we had talked about, either like the fresh herbs and then the fruit juices.
Yeah. We
do drink juice like almost every day, but it's just a part of our diet, and this is not some just fad diet that you'll go on and then jump off when you're done. I mean, it's understanding that a raw diet of any kind is like the best way to go, and so the juice just becomes a part of the raw diet afterwards, and it's not something that you're just gonna ixnay when you're done. Like, if you wanted to have a couple juices throughout the week, or even a few more if you want to have a juice a day, just make it, like you said, do it for like every 3 days or so, and you'd have enough. But for what you were doing, you obviously were strictly just the juice, so there might be a little more prep for somebody who's doing a little bit of juice and then making a nice big salad, or you can make raw lasagna, different things like this, so it's any sort of raw food diet should include a juice of sorts. It's helpful just to get a lot of the hydration too, which is what a lot of people are missing. And then you had mentioned that you had done 3 quarts.
Yes.
You did 3 quarts a day.
A day, yes.
Now, that is very beneficial, and even Dr. Scott will say that if he did only 1, it didn't, like, he felt 2 was better. Like, you could tell that having 2 quarts of juice was that much better than the 1. I don't know if it jump-started something even quicker, but you don't have to do 3 quarts a day. in order to do this. If you wanted to do 1 quart of like a nice herbal tea, 1 quart of just water, and then 1 quart of just juice, that even cuts down the financials even more then.
Absolutely.
You know, so coming from what you had done, I think the main thing to like let everybody know is that juicing is juicing the fruits and even like the herbs and stuff like that is very beneficial just for like any sort of like health goal you may have. You know, you're giving your body what it needs, so the end result is going to be something healthy in that regards. You know, you might experience some hiccups and some bumps along the way, but if you're fasting and giving your body a break throughout the entire time like you're fast or the time you're trying to do this, and then feed it the correct food with a bunch of electrolytes, and then the highest electromagnetic food, the fruit, all of that, you'll start to see the body start to go back to its natural state. You know, right now, one thing I wanted to touch on with where you had mentioned that you had gained a little weight in the beginning, correct? When you first started the juice, but you gained a little bit of weight. A lot of patients initially get that, and especially where we're at here, our diet, or the diet that most people have, is very bad. When you look at the science or like the chemistry of it, it's very acidic food. So now you're going the complete opposite of the pH scale. You're having something that's alkaline, and your body is retaining a lot of this water because it's trying to buffer out these acids. Your body's so acidic, now you're dumping in this alkaline chemistry, the body just retains all that water now. And it'll take a bit until you get to that balance point where then, like you said, you'll just drop the weight then after that. But I think a lot of people tend to shy away because either they can't fit in their jeans now, or they gained a few extra pounds right in the beginning, and that's expected, you know. So I'm glad and happy. Everything that you've done, you've persevered, you've went against the grain, you went everything that was uncomfortable, you battled through it, and you're still here. You know,
didn't die.
Like if you do have some sort of moment like that, just understand that everything's going to be fine. I'm blessed. The universe has given me this life and this knowledge. You know, life is abundant here. You know, and if we see it as the opposite, of course you're not going to be feeling well or feel like you have what you need. You know, so I guess I'm very happy and proud of what you're doing. I'm happy that you're going to do another 40-day fast. I guess. Is there anything that you want to leave our talk with for anybody who has doubts or questions, or I guess you kind of explained what you felt prior to and how you felt afterwards. So I guess, is there any words of inspiration or anything that you can give to anybody watching this? What exactly, I guess go ahead and just take the floor from there.
I think part of it is just rewriting the narrative of what we've been taught and what we've been told health and wellness is, and to just kind of remove yourself from the old way of thinking and trust the process. My body, as I said, has been very sick, and I've suffered for many, many decades, and to just learn the sensitivities of my body being able to tell me what it needed. There were days where I couldn't, I remember there was a 2-week period where I couldn't find any pineapple, for example, and I was like, oh, no big deal, I'll just do something else. And so I was juicing other fruits and vegetables, whatever, and there was something in the pineapple that my body needed, and I knew that, and I could feel that. And so when I went that 2 weeks, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it was 10 days without that pineapple, I knew that was something lacking.
Wow.
And so when I added that pineapple back in, I remember the day so clearly because it was almost like my body just relaxed and I felt better, and I thought, okay, who knew? And so just being aware that your body will tell you what it needs, and to just trust that process. And then the other thing I would just say is we live in a culture of excess. We live in instant gratification. We live in a culture that tells us, if it feels good, do it, and you just buy this and experience that and all those things. And I think for me, it's been a lot about simplifying the external forces on my life and how I'm responding to that. I work in crisis response. I work with law enforcement, and I'm in crisis a lot in my work, and so I'm learning that we're not wired for that. And so to remove the crisis and the strain that you're putting on your physicality by putting better food in, you're removing all the stress just from the physical way your body has to process. So for me, I mentioned mind, body, and spirit. For me, that's been a huge component. I find that I'm able to manage stress better. My relationship with God is stronger. I'm able to do some more physical exercising now than I've ever been. And so I'm really mindful of that mind, body, spirit connection, and just how the food and the herbs have contributed to that.
Mm-hmm.
So just be encouraged that wellness is possible. I've got a long way to go. I still have a torn rotator cuff and I still have a torn Achilles tendon, but I'm working on that every day and rehabbing that as I can. And I'm trusting that the juicing is going to really help with those injuries. And I'm just making strides every day to make better choices. Mm-hmm. And there were days where I really screwed up and I felt just not well from my food choices, but then I would start again the next day. And so I've given myself the grace to make some mistakes and to be able to start over. And that's been a good process for me too. So if you're starting a wellness journey and if you're moving into this territory of the unknown with your health, trust the process. And I wish you all God's best on the journey.
Don't beat yourself up too, because I've done that myself, and it's, look, I'm only 30, but like the amount of years of crap that I've put in my body prior to what I've learned, and now I'm trying to heal myself. It's like, let's take a little bit of time. I'm still consistently juicing and taking my fresh herbs out of my yard. It's a process, it's a journey, and there's a lot of different things and different components that you'll realize that make up who you are, who your entity is, and so don't beat yourself up on your journey. We're here to learn, so take every day by day, live in the moment. Don't think about tomorrow or the next day or next week. Stick in that moment. It'll make it so much easier rather than thinking, oh, I got 10 more days to go until I'm only on day 20, I got 10 more days to go. It's like, don't stress over that. And then if you do have a little hiccup, just jump back on. I know it's a little tougher. It's tougher to get back on after a little hiccup, but like I said, don't beat yourself up. It's a journey. You're consistently learning. Be grateful that you've learned information like this and that you're actually applying it itself is even learning more as well. The experience that you have, you can listen to me talk all day long, but you need to experience it in order for you to really even be able to talk with someone about it,
I will add, so Dr. Scott has been telling me, and I think it's closer to I don't know how long I've been coming here, 4 years. I drive an hour and a half to get here when I come. It's been that beneficial to me. But the other thing is to put a support system around you. So I knew that twice a month or once a month when I came down for my treatments that I would be encouraged on my journey. And, we live in a culture that says, subscribe to this, pay for this program, hire this mentor or coach or whatever. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but I guess what I've learned is you don't need a lot of expensive programming to find wellness, and make sure you have people around you that are like-minded and that are going to encourage you. Stay away from the haters, even if it's just for a little while, because there are people who will feel threatened by you trying to find your way to wellness. And so you just need to, it's like detoxing with the juice. You need to detox with the people a little bit, and to just find a support group, whether it's Brandon or Dr. Scott or some people who maybe are on a parallel journey to you. Find that support that is going to help you be better and to stay inspired and encouraged, and that's really made a lot of difference.
Well, I'm happy for you. I'm looking forward to seeing you further down in your journey too. So I want to thank you thank you for doing this, and
Absolutely.
I'm proud of you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Alrighty.
And when I see you next time, which I'm moving out of state, hopefully I'll be even less of a woman than I am now, and I'll be littler and healthier.
You'll be more of a woman, but smaller.
Smaller woman, bigger lifestyle.
No,
So.
I thank you, and thank you for sharing your story with
Absolutely.
everybody. It's important to get this message out for people so that we can take back our own health, because no doctor can do it. You have to do it alone, or you have to trust in yourself, and you have to. No one else can get their health back besides you. You have to be willing to do it, and so that's the biggest struggle that I find. So
It's awesome.
good luck, everybody, and
Take care.
bye bye.